tired of screwing up, tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.
Eminent Waste of Time, episode 11. I'm Doug.
And I'm Chad.
And as promised, we are actually keeping to our word of giving you an episode this week, unlike previous when we promised a Thanksgiving episode and didn't do it.
Yeah, we didn't, and we talked about that in the last one. Things just got busy and it didn't happen. And I'm sure all of you who have lives understand that. So,
You mean the people that listen to this have lives?
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
Saying if they had a life, they would understand that.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's true. Good qualification there. Well, we have a bunch of stuff. I was a little bit worried after the 1 hour marathon last time that we wouldn't have anything to go for this show. It would just be, that was it. We had nothing. The next show is just going to be us stuttering at the microphone and trying to fill time. But
Or we open up and it's like, hi, I'm Doug and I'm Chad. And it's about time to wrap it up. Thanks for riding along.
Yeah. UTVs are great, and thanks. You will notice we have video this time. I'm assuming we have video. I'm going to go forward in faith that we have video. We have a different setup, so...
Honestly, this time we're running 2 cameras, and we are getting video. If the video is really crappy, it's the backup. If it's decent video like it's always been, it's the normal one. I'm still looking at other cameras. I just
crappy cameras may benefit the viewers, though. It's less of us.
I agree. You get to see less of the imperfections that we possess. Is that what we're going for?
Exactly. Something along those lines. So hopefully we have good video this time. You'll also notice we are not in my barn. We are back at Chad's place, namely because it is all of 29 degrees out and it's heading down into the teens tonight, or maybe that's tomorrow night. I don't know. It's cold, and I am not sitting in that barn.
No, it's cold, and we have not gotten the wood-burning furnace hooked up yet. So...
namely because I still have stuff in the way.
Yeah,
but I actually spent the night in my own bedroom.
Congratulations. That was one thing I did not put on our list for Doug, but Doug, give us the update on the house, because we've kind of taken everyone along for the ride already on this stuff. So,
well, we have functional bedrooms now. They're not 100% complete. We're still putting some of the finishing touches on them, but we're in them. Like, I have nightstands. I have lamps on the nightstands. I have a dresser. My wife has, her dresser. We have a bed frame. It's not mattresses on the floors. The flooring is complete. The electrical is complete. I mean, we're 95% of the way there, and yeah, it's it's actually sort of like a house now. The kids are in their rooms. I mean, there's still a bunch of stuff to do, but now I'm not going to say I'm going to back off the pace a ton, but I feel like I have some breathing room, whereas this was just a dead run to get things done. So that we had, some privacy, and it didn't just, it wasn't basically a one-room house. But now I feel like I can actually take a little bit of a breath and, maybe take a day off here and there, because it's just been go to work, get home, work till 10 o'clock, pass out, and repeat. And, I don't mind working hard, but there's a point at which it's not really much of a life anymore. So,
yeah, I don't think we really described the living situation too much before, but it basically was Doug, his wife, and 2 children all in, it was like a living room space.
Oh, yeah, it's a good sized room.
But like Doug and his wife's mattress, right next to that, one of the kids.
Yeah, right next to us was my son Deacon. Right next to that was my daughter Hannah, and we were all just lined up like we're in a tent, essentially.
Your own little hovel.
Yeah. So it's nice to have some privacy and be in our own space for a change. So.
And you guys didn't even have that own room to yourself. You had like flooring, or still have flooring in there. And I mean, you were living in the construction zone.
Oh, yeah. No, there was no part of the house that was like a respite from what was going on. It was just stuff everywhere. People out there have been through renovations and that kind of stuff. I'm sure they can appreciate that. But it's nice to finally have a place that is starting to feel like our own home. I don't know if we'll have the living room and the dining room done by Christmas. I'd kind of set that as a goal, but I'm just going to work at it, as best I can. I'm not going to set unrealistic goals and disappoint myself, but it just feels, I slept so good for the first time. I missed the alarm this morning. My wife, kind of rolled over and wake me up because she heard the alarm. So I think it just was a testament to, I hadn't been sleeping well. I was on a dead run, and finally I felt like I could get some rest, and did. So feeling pretty good about that. And as we continue through that process, that means we get junk out of the barn, which means we can put the wood stove in place.
And I can have heat. I was working in there last night and freezing, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, that wood stove would be awesome hooked up right now, but it wasn't.
The piece of wood that was underneath where you were welding caught on fire, and I don't think you were upset. You're like, look, it's heat.
Yeah. I was doing some TIG welding, and I kind of partially burned a little piece of wood sitting there. And but I wanted to finish the weld. I hate starting and stopping TIG welding. Not that it's hard, it just makes for a bad looking weld. When you can make it look perfect all the way around on a rotisserie and it looks nice, I hate starting and stopping it. So I'm like, my hands are burning, but it's heat, so I'm okay with this.
I'll
for a few
take
minutes.
it. Yeah.
So yeah.
It just gets us that much closer to all of our goals, not just having a house to live in for me, but Eminent Performance and doing what we want to do with Eminent Performance, which is build parts and have some fun doing it. It's kind of tough when you're packed in there with half a house full of junk and it's not really a shop yet. It's getting there. I mean, we can work in it, but it'll be nice to have things finalized there. So we're just that much closer, which is really exciting.
So speaking of goals, I'll share the famous quote that I always say: if you set your goals low enough, you will always achieve. So
I've often said that something similar to that is why my wife married me. She was actually married once before, and her ex-husband I've never met him, but by all accounts is a real piece of work. I'm actually really thankful.
You're an all-star.
He set the bar so low, I walked in the door and tripped over it, and that's how I got over it. But good enough for me.
Yep. So,
I suppose it works. I'm coming up on 17 years, so
just don't let her out of the house to find if anyone better is out there.
I was going to say, is it like Stockholm Syndrome? Or she just thinks I'm awesome. So we have a whole bunch of stuff we're going to get going into here.
We may not get to all this. Doug, I generally throw together the list, and then
we're never going to get through all this. But
that's fine.
I laughed to myself because
I'm bad at titles, and I'm sure that's what he's laughing at.
No, what I'm laughing at is that Robert Higbee once again wants to stir the X3 pot like Chad really needs any more motivation to talk about his beloved X3.
Doug and I were chatting today, and he sends a message that said something like, Robert Higbee wants you to tell everyone why you like the X3 so much. And then he put like eye roll or something like that. And then I sent him back, you got to give the people what they want, Doug. And then like a little note that said, remind to give Robert Higbee $5, I promised him. Or something like that, just messing with him. Obviously I did not
As long
promise.
as it's out of your personal PayPal and not the company one, I'm good with that.
Whatever.
Okay, so I'm going to give you 90 seconds tops.
90 seconds?
Chad, why do you like the X3 so much? Give me the list. Just list it. Go.
I like the ergonomics and how they've set up the cab. Every person that I've ever talked to on it has all said the exact same thing. It is a point and shoot machine. You aim it where you want it to go, and it just goes there. And I attribute that to the suspension setup. I haven't driven one yet, but I'm assuming by watching the suspension cycle and also by listening to everyone that the suspension is set up really well. So it does not fight you over whoops and everything else and in corners. So I'm going to say the suspension, the ergonomics of it, and the power is just something that's otherworldly. I mean, we're almost getting to the point in the power world that you can't use anymore. So
it really is, honestly, an off-road sports car.
It is.
That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah. And it looks good. Looks are secondary to me, though. I want something that performs. If it looks ugly as sin, I don't care. As long as it performs well. And that's a performing machine in my mind. I've yet to hear anyone ever say that they regret buying one, or they didn't like it, or they were getting rid of it because it was something that was wrong with it. So I'm trying to keep to my 90 seconds, and I'm sure it's nearing ending. So
no, actually, you're pretty spot on. It was darn close.
Look at that.
Okay, so continuing down that thread, he says back to the X3 because he had a couple other questions, but I'm going to do these out of order because I'm hosting the show. Ha!
And you can.
And I can. So there are a bunch of mud machine related questions here. So he says back to the X3, they have a mud machine now and also the 900. So what do you think? Buy the mud or get the 900 and turn it into a mud machine?
I assume we're just talking about the X3, the Can-Ams. They have the 900 and they have the 900 or the X3 XMR.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about here. Okay. You want to give your opinion first? I just got done talking a fair amount.
Personally, I think you'd buy the mud machine. I don't really see a compelling reason to buy the 900 unless... let me qualify this. If you are a mud runner and you know exactly what you want and you have fab skills and you really are super particular, then yes, maybe you buy the 900 and you do something with it. But I think for 99% of the population out there, you buy the one that's set up from Can-Am and you go have some fun with it. Because ultimately, that's what this is all about. None of us are making any money. In fact, we're all basically losing money hand over fist to these machines. They're fun and they're great, and it's like any hobby. I don't care what you do. You're going to put some money and time into it. But would you rather spend that building or running? And I think most people would rather spend it running. Like I said, if you're that top 1%, it's like if you're a NASCAR driver, you're not just going to go get a box stock NASCAR, not that there really is one, but just like take a stock chassis and dump a stock motor in it and go racing. You're going to tweak it, you're going to massage it, you're going to build your own. So if you're at that level, sure, but I think you just buy the machine that they've kind of purpose built for it. Go have fun, beat on it.
Okay, so I'll throw my opinion in here, the 900 versus the XMR. I'm going to agree with your overall statement, but argue your 900 statement. I cannot ever see, and this, I'm sorry, Robert, if you're actually debating getting the 900, but for a mud machine, I would never, ever consider the lower horsepower, lower displacement machine. Because for a mud machine, you are going to throw bigger tires under it, and we all know this. And we all know that larger tires just rob horsepower. They just chew it up, and then you throw it in the mud. Not that I'm saying the 900 is not enough horsepower, but I think you would wish you had more shortly after getting it.
Yeah, but I think if you're going to do a custom machine, you could take that 900 and throw a turbo on there and do all sorts of, or, you know, beef it up. You could do all sorts of crazy stuff if you were just going to go all out. But yeah, in general, I do agree with you.
Right.
You're never going to want to be down on horsepower when you're waist deep in the mud.
Right. Because you really need something to spin those tires and really clean out the lugs and everything else. So
And you don't want to be the guy that's getting winched out the entire time.
No, you don't want to be the boat anchor that everyone is dragging. So I'm going to agree that I would just do the XMR versus the 900. Is it more money? Yes, no argument there. But when you get up into these price ranges, I'm cheap, but I'm still a proponent of buy the right thing, buy it once, and be happy.
Well, and you can dunk a lot of money into turning something into another type of machine really fast.
Oh, yeah. You can... And we've talked about this in previous shows, where if you're not honest with yourself about what you're going to do with it, you're going to end up spending double or triple or something crazy like that. Because what you're doing... Okay, let's take the motor, for example, because that's an easy one. Like you said, you can throw big turbos on it. You can, fuel mappings and everything else to try and get your horsepower numbers to where they would be with the XMR. But at that point, you've pretty much stretched that motor as far as you can take it, and you're still just maybe even with the XMR.
Yeah.
And you've now... I don't know if the Can-Am 900 comes with a turbo or not. I cannot remember. I did not look that deeply at it. But let's say it does. So now you've taken off their turbo to put on a bigger turbo. Well, you paid for that turbo when you bought the machine. So it's just money you're throwing away. Even if you sell it, you're not recouping what you actually ended up paying for that turbo when you bought the machine. So you're losing money every time you take parts off. And if there's an option to just buy the one with the parts on it, you are going to be money ahead.
It is non-turbo, normally aspirated.
Okay.
Just so we're clear.
Okay. Well, either way, you're buying a turbo, and you're going to have to take off the intake, and you're paying someone to make a custom intake or a company who has figured it out, which I doubt anyone has yet. But there's just things like that. You're going to sink more money into it than you need to. And in my opinion, go for the higher horsepower machine that's built for what you want.
So along those lines, built for what you want, another question we had was, do you think their mud machine, the Maverick X3 XMR Turbo, to be the mud machine to buy, or versus the Polaris Highlifter?
I saw this question, and this is a much harder question in my mind. So I'll let you go first again.
We talked a little bit about this. What kind of mud? And that's part of my decision-making process. I mean, are we talking a foot deep? Are we talking 3 foot deep? Because honestly, I think they're in some ways slightly different machines. I think the XMR is a good mud machine. I don't know how it does in really, really super deep stuff. I just don't know enough about that. One thing I like about the high lifter is that 55% gear reduction. I mean, if you're just in that stuff where you see these guys, they're getting through it, but they're up to their chin, you think they're going to drown, and they're going about 2 miles an hour for 3 hours to get out of this pit, but eventually they do. I think that's where the gear reduction and the stuff that the high lifter offers you is a really big boon. Now, that being said, it's down 10 horsepower right out of the box.
Correct.
There is no turbo option for it.
Correct.
And the XMR overall has better suspension travel. It's got 20 inches of suspension travel. It does have the new, it's basically the factory halo locker in the front now. If it was me, I'd buy the XMR. I mean, I just don't do the type of running that I think that the high lifter with the gear reduction and stuff would benefit my riding style. But I think if you're the waist deep slugging it out in the mud, I'd probably be tempted to go that way.
I will say the same thing. And once again, I'm going back to the same statement I've made several times now. If you're not honest with what you're going to do with the machine, you're probably going to regret buying that machine. So like Doug was saying, if you're just, all you do is mud ride and all you are is in the thick, soupy mud, either up in Canada where they got the muskeg or down in Louisiana where it's just, deep and there's no bottom to some of that stuff, it seems. I think the high lifter is going to be what you want because of that gear reduction. If you're going to use the machine for things other than just crawling in the mud, if you're going to use it for some trail riding or something like that, you're going to use it for just different purposes other than just mud, I really think the XMR is the better all-around machine. Now, it's still built to be a mud machine.
Yeah.
But I think it's better at doing a few extra things. And I'm not saying the Polaris won't, because I know there's a few guys who do have the high lifter, and they love it, and that's great. But that 55% gear reduction, it's not mystical. You're losing something somewhere, and you're losing that high end.
Yeah. You're trading RPM for torque, and that's what's going to get you through the really wicked deep stuff. And again, I just don't think they're quite the same machine. It's not, are you going to buy the X3 or the Razor 1000 Turbo, like the stock to stock? Like, it's not really, those are kind of built for the same purpose. I feel like these are slightly different in their intention.
I'll say they're built for the same purpose, but I think their focus, I'll say like the high lifter, I think is like 90% or 95% focused in the mud, and the XMR is like 80% focused to the mud.
Yeah, I'll buy that. Slightly different philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, just that I think they built the XMR to be a little more universal than the high lifter was built. Not that either one's good or bad. You just got to be honest about what you're going to do with them, and then you'll be happy.
And I really wouldn't want the 55% gear. Again, for the style of riding I do, I wouldn't want that tall, because once I'm out of the mud, I want to have some fun with it. And like I said, you're losing top end. You're just giving something up. There's the physics is simple.
Can you imagine that 55% gear reduction in the sand? Going like taking it out to like we go to Silver Lake up in Michigan, or you go out in some deep soft sand.
Wheel speed is all that saves you in the sand.
Oh yeah,
that's it. It's wheel speed.
And that 55% gear reduction, I bet you'd bury it if you left the stock tires on it. You just bury it.
Yeah, because you're just going to dig. You have so much torque, but not enough forward momentum to account for it. You're gonna bury it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's all about horsepower and wheel speed out there. That's why the sand rails work. They're incredibly high horsepower, but they're turning the wheels a million miles an hour. They're literally just skipping over the top of the sand.
Yeah. So like I said, it depends what you're going to use it for. So that's about all I got on that one anyway. So
revisiting our previous discussion about the ultimate trail machine, he said, I don't mean 50 inches. I mean all-around trail machine, from the Viking to the CF Moto to you name it. The trails up here are 60-plus inches wide, so I'm wondering what you like as a total trail machine. Honestly, if I was buying one machine that could do it all, I'd do the Polaris, the 4-star General.
Would you?
Yep. because you can work with it. It's still got plenty of power. You can run trails with that thing. It's got a good suspension. It rides nice. I like the extra payload. I like some of the stuff that it comes with.
The doors.
I like the fact that it's got doors and stuff. Like trail riding, not racing, that's a tough machine to beat.
For me, it goes to my riding style. And I'm not saying the General is slow, but I know that there's more out there, more power. And I'm not saying the X3. I'm saying, okay, if you're a Polaris fan, it would be the Razor for me. It would be the Razor S if we're talking about staying within about the 60-inch wide. Something like that. But the General is a good candidate. I like Yamaha. I like the Wolverine.
I just wish it had more guts.
That is its major downfall. And when I was a diehard Yamaha fan when the Wolverine was released, and I was sitting there. They announced the Wolverine's going to be coming. They didn't announce what it was, but I was waiting on the press release, and I was watching. And in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking, whatever this machine is, I may get this machine. It comes out, and it's that stupid 700cc motor, and that instantly just turned my stomach. I'm like, why are you doing this? And Yamaha, if anyone from the company is listening, why did you do that? You got, at that time, I think they had released the 1000 Razors. I'm wanting to say. Anyway, the 900s were out.
I mean, they make bikes like the R1.
Right.
They're not afraid of power.
Sleds. They got the Apex motor, snowmobiles. They got high horsepower stuff. Why in the world are you releasing? It's not the exact same motor, but I'm going to call it the same motor. It's the same displacement. Everyone who owned a Yamaha, and Yamaha people are diehard fans, everyone is screaming, give us something with power. Something with more power. They would have been fine if it was a 900cc, something like that with some power. They would give up a few horsepower to stay with Yamaha. I think single-handedly that is the biggest thing that has drove more Yamaha fans away from the brand than anything else, because for so many years they did not give the public what they were screaming for.
And honestly, when I was thinking trail machine, I was instantly thinking 4 seats, like taking my family, which probably surprises you because I had kind of expressed my love for the new X4.
Yeah.
I like the new motor. The problem is they've made it heavier because it's a 4-door and they've beefed up some other stuff. So I think it feels like the same machine.
Right.
And especially when you load up 4 people in there. The General's just got more oomph and it rides equally as well. And I think for my driving style, which is maybe not as aggressive as yours, I think it ticks a lot of boxes. I'm not saying it's the machine I would buy if I was going to go buy one today, but if I was looking purely at trail riding and nothing else, it ticks a lot of the boxes.
I'll agree. See, when he said that, I don't think 4-seater at all. But like I said, my family really doesn't go anywhere with me, riding wise. The General would be, it'd probably be one of the top on my list. But then again, you can get I'm going to say the X3 again. You can get an X3 in 64 inches wide, or you can get a Maverick in 60 inches wide in the XC version. And I don't know. I guess it depends what you're gonna do with it. If your riding style is aggressive like mine, and I'm not saying the General's bad. I just don't think it's going to give me the sport feel that I want when I want to push on it. I think I would have to either go with the Maverick XC or do like the narrower X3. But yeah, the General really is a better all-around machine as far as if you want to work with it some and all that. So if I got to pick, though, if I got to pick one that I would buy for trail riding, I'm going to say the Maverick in the XC configuration, because that keeps it right at that 60-inch width. Yeah. And it's still pretty usable. There's not much bed or anything, really, but, I mean, there's totes you can put in there. It's easier to get in and out of than the X3. And yes, you can get the X3 in 64 inches, but that's really not a trail machine.
No, and we'd kind of talked about that, the exit and entry into the X3. It's designed to get in and stay in. Like if you're going to be at the dunes,
Oh, it's great.
you
Yeah.
get in, you stay in it for hours on end. But if you're going to be in and out, which on the trail, you do have the potential to do that, especially if you're trying to help other people who may have gotten stuck or something along those lines.
Group rides or something like that.
It's tough to get in and out of. It's not, the ergonomics on that end of it are not friendly.
I will agree. Yeah, the entry and exit is, I'm not saying it's horrible, but it's just not as good as the other machines out there.
No, you notice it every time you get in and out. Your leg hits that spot, you notice it.
Right, because you sit more down in it, so you actually have to climb up and over the bolster of the seat and everything. So it's not ideal for getting in and out. But if I'm going to pick a trail machine, yeah, I'm going to go with the Maverick. So
I'm going to make a note here that you did not pick the X3 for once in your life.
I know, but
That's how you know you're getting honest reviews here.
I don't pick my favorite machine. Yeah.
Only 90% of the time.
Well, I'm going to be honest about it. I've said it before. I mean, I'm not brand loyal or anything like that, but if the machine just flat doesn't do what I need it to do, I wouldn't pick that machine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to say the Maverick, although I would not turn down a General. I just don't think it would be enough leaning towards the sports side to do it for me. So,
have you guys ever, okay, this is kind of a response to parts requests.
yes.
Have you guys ever thought about making a land anchor? And the answer is honestly no. There are enough Chevy trucks out there. I don't really think there's a market that we need to do that.
Oh, Chevy owners, light your torches and grab your pitchforks.
Bring your pitchforks. Bring them on. I will stand by that every day of the week.
The good thing is most everyone who listens to this is far away and their Chevy trucks will break down long before they get here. I'm sorry I had to do it. He left the door open. Oh, okay.
Someday I can go into my rant, and it's not just a mechanical, this engine versus that. I have a legitimate beef with GM in general, but
Okay.
today's not that rant.
We're going back to Robert's well-crafted question because we asked for it and he has supplied us with a question. So
we had not considered it, but honestly, it's a very useful, very necessary off-road tool.
for the people that don't know what a land anchor is, because a lot of people, and I'll say especially a lot of people in the Midwest, we would have almost zero use for a land anchor around here because there's a tree every 3 feet.
I was going to say, if you can't find a tree, I'm not sure where you are unless you're stuck in the middle of a cornfield.
Right. And that's about it. So, and I don't know how you got stuck there because it's pretty flat around here.
Yeah.
But anyway, what a land anchor is it's a long rod of metal, of steel, and then it's got two arms that fold out and act like hooks to bury into the ground and give you a pulling point for when there are no pulling points around you so that you can winch out. Robert had a friend of his, I believe it was, make one for him, or he makes them, but the guy has no desire to manufacture them. They're not hard to make, and I guess we could make them and see what the demand for it is.
It'd be kind of fun, honestly, to play around with, different geometries and see which one held better and which one was more likely to bury itself, because that's really what you want, is it to bury quickly.
Yeah.
I'm open to it. Like you said, I just don't know. Everyone we know rides in heavily forested areas, so...
Yeah. I'm not kidding. Now, well, Robert's up there in Alaska, and some of their trees are not buried so well. I mean, I've seen writing of them that they need land anchors, and some of the guys out west, when you get out into the deserts and stuff like that, you need that stuff. So I can see the need for it. It just literally had never crossed my mind of ever making one, because I'm not kidding you. There's a tree every 3 feet here.
And dead Chevys about as often. Okay, I'll stop.
I wasn't going down that road.
Neither's that Chevy.
No. Gosh, Doug. How are we going to get that Chevy sponsorship now? Never.
Never. I wouldn't have taken their money anyways.
Oh. So, yeah, well, maybe what we'll do is I'll get a hold of Robert Higbee or some of those guys and talk to them. Yeah, I can build it. That's not a problem. And we'll see how much demand is out there for it. I don't know. Yeah, but hey, I like the suggestion because, like I said, that's something I had never even personally considered building.
I definitely think there is a market, and I think we're kind of trapped by. We've basically spent our entire lives in Indiana. I was born in Michigan, but which is not a whole lot different than Indiana, at least southern Michigan. And we are kind of broadcasting to a much larger audience now. So I guess we do need to think about maybe outside of our immediate zone. So we'll definitely take a look at that. We want to do a business case. One other thing he mentioned, I think is a great idea, is to make a bracket system that will attach to the roll cage too. So you have a place to stow it. So it's a complete system.
Yep.
Because that's not something you want coming off and hitting the person behind you or whipping around and smacking you in the back of the head. I mean,
No.
it needs to be in a secure location. Like thrown in the bed is not acceptable.
See, this is why we need to use this as ammunition to, at least for my wife, that we have to go out to Moab to test this and, or Alaska.
Or Texas or wherever, somewhere not here.
Yeah, not here. So, yeah, Doug knows my wife, but I'll tell this quick. It's not a story, but it's more the situation. So my wife is a very nice person, so don't take this as wrong, but she is probably the least supportive person on the planet.
She, in her defense, how she describes it is she's not a visionary type of person. So she doesn't easily see how a crazy idea like ours can translate into something worthwhile down the road.
Yeah. So, and it's like she said about the podcast. Who would listen to you two just talking? I'm like, I don't know, but
Yeah, our answer was, good question.
yeah. And so while we're on this topic, Doug found some interesting information that I am thrilled about, and I want to say thank you to all you guys right away for it. But go ahead with the story first.
So I've told you we don't really have an effective way to track podcast listening. YouTube gives us very clear cut, you've had 93 views for this last podcast or whatever, but we haven't had a good way to look at the podcasts themselves in terms of iTunes, Google Play, people listening from those kind of venues, and maybe people that have found them there that aren't even involved in the forums we're on. They're just out somewhere and are listening. I do have a way to look at website traffic, though, in terms of how much bandwidth we're using. And these numbers aren't startling because we haven't directed a lot of traffic to our page. So previously, we were only using about 400 megabytes a month worth of traffic, which is, our page isn't really graphic intensive. There's not a lot there. In looking through that, I had seen several hits on our tech article we had up there about the clutch clocking and replacing the spring and stuff. So people are hitting it up and getting that kind of information, which I'm glad about. But since we started doing the podcast, I was noticing a slight uptick, 500-600 megs a month. And then all of a sudden in September, we hit 2.1 gigabytes worth of traffic. And then in October, it was 2.5. And then in November, it was 4.4. So all of a sudden, we've got 10 times the web traffic that we've had in the past. And already this month, we're December 6th on the night we're recording this. It'll be released on the 8th. We've already got 1.2 gigs of traffic. And we're not even a week into this month yet.
Yeah, so that's going to put us at least the same amount of traffic, if no more growth. Now, I'm sure this is maybe not all that exciting to you guys, but that's thrilling to us because that means people are actually listening.
Yeah, it's getting out there on some level, and the YouTube video views continue to rise. So, in answer to your wife's question, I guess if you build it, they will come type of.
Maybe it's like NASCAR. People are watching for the wreck. They're waiting for that.
Maybe it's because we've given them so many wrecks already that's why they just keep coming back for more. I don't care. You're listening. Our traffic is growing. And another exciting thing I found, the service that I've been using to publish the podcast actually has free stat tracking. And so from here on out, I'll actually be able to get real numbers because it's not dependent on Google Play or iTunes or whoever to give it to me. It's when it leaves our site, regardless of what venue it goes to, we get basically real, actual statistics.
But doesn't Google Play cache the podcast? Like they download it and then
They do. However, we'll at least get something because they're the only service that does that. iTunes and all the other ones hit our server every time we send one out. So it is going to be a little fuzzy in that regard, but it's better than what we have now, which is just a stab in the dark and a bandwidth graph.
Okay. So that's enough time spent on that. I'm sure you guys are not overly thrilled, but
thank you.
Yeah. No, seriously, thank you guys for listening. Pass it on to your friends and, make them suffer too, I guess. And, like we said, throw comments, questions, suggestions. Even if you're like, man, that guy, Chad, is a moron, throw it on there. I don't care. I mean, whatever. I got thick skin, so.
So, yeah, I'm really interested in the land anchor thing now.
Wow, we got off topic quick.
We did. We warned. It actually says in the podcast description that that's a very likely occurrence. So if you don't like it, this is not the podcast for you.
Yeah.
But we've told you in the past to go check out Dirt Every Day.
Yep.
And I think it was a Dirt Every Day Extra, which you have to buy a subscription to Motor Trend on demand, which if you're interested in on-road, off-road, anything that burns gas and turns it into heat and motion, it's worth the $6 a month. But he did this whole one on this land anchor, and it was I was laughing because I was wondering if they were going to quick edit this thing or let you see him keep failing. So he has this truck he's built. It's an old Cuck V, like a 1984. So for those of you that don't know what they are basically the military version of the old Chevy square body pickup trucks and Blazers. This
you
one
would very
to be
easily
a truck.
confuse them for it. I mean,
Yeah.
they are the same pretty much.
You could effectively build one by buying an old square body Chevy and painting it olive drab green.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some other subtle differences.
Close enough, though. Anyway, so
They all came with diesel motors that people pull because they're junk and that kind of stuff. Anyways, moving forward, he had this episode where he's got this one that he bought, and he calls it the Alabama Army truck because he bought it from Alabama. He pulled the diesel out. He put just an absolutely hellacious LS motor in it.
Screamer of a motor.
I mean, it's a nice truck. I'm not a Chevy guy, obviously. That's a pretty nice truck, but there's not a lot of Chevy left in it. He had one where he had the truck parked and he was trying to demonstrate this land anchor. And I'm laughing because it drops, 10 times? There's nobody helping him. So he runs out, he pulls the winch cable out, he sets it up, he goes back to the truck, he hits the winch button, it falls over. He pulls some more winch cable out, he runs back, he sets it up again, he goes back, hits the winch button, it falls over. And it repeats like 10 times until he finally finds a way to get this thing to dig in. And all I could think was, mental note, there's got to be a better design than that.
Yeah. It was hilarious. Yes, I will agree. I do like the show, but
I kept waiting for them to do some sort of time lapse edit or speed it up and play like the Benny Hill music or do something. No, it was all real time and
yakety sax music.
It almost got painful to watch at one point, but that's what made it funny.
So, so land anchor is a very real possibility.
Okay, interesting one here. Do we want to talk about the Traxxas Ridge 900?
We can make quick comment of it.
Yeah. Okay. So picture a Razor 900. Picture it being made in China. Very slight bodywork differences and sold for cheaper.
What it actually is, and I don't know if you know this about it because it's not in any of the things. I just have had a guy who I used to talk to, Peter, who worked at CF Moto. He was fairly high up there. He has since left the company. But he informed me that Traxxas, the people who make it, they worked at CF Moto, were not happy with how their engineering was being taken. These were all engineers.
Sure.
I think it was a group of 9 of them. But they left and formed this company, and this is their brainchild. They were not happy with how it was made, how their engineering was being handled, and corners were being cut.
And I shouldn't say that anything I said was meant to be derogatory. It really wasn't. It's just literally, if you're more than 10 feet away, you would totally be forgiven for mistaking this for a Razor 900.
Yes.
It looks extremely similar.
It does look very similar. So I don't know anything about it, really. There's specs on it. I don't know of anyone who's driven one yet. I have not heard anything. So there's not a whole lot.
That being said, I like it. I don't know what the price point's going to be, but I think if you want to get into a mid-displacement Razor clone, I think it's going to be a cheap way to do that. And if the CF Moto is pretty well built in a lot of ways, we really haven't had a whole lot of beef with it. So
Other than hitting things.
But hey, that wheel stayed on after I hit that tree at 30
Yes, it
miles an
did.
hour. I mean, it was only by a half of a bolt, but it stayed on. But if this is a vehicle that was built by engineers that weren't happy with that design and it's better, I'm interested to see what they put out.
I'm interested to see what it is, and I've said it many times before, but I am always a fan of people bringing their offerings to the marketplace because it only makes the marketplace better, in my opinion. Will Polaris still be king of the hill? Very likely, but you know what it does? It spurs Polaris to keep designing better and better things. They're not sitting back on their heels just trying to collect cash. So I don't know enough about it to say anything really about it, but I'm anxious to see what it does.
But you can jump out there on Google, just look up the Troxus, and that is TROXUS Ridge 900. Just go look it up and you'll find everything we know about it, which is not a whole lot. Other than that, it looks a lot like a Razor.
Yes, it does.
So the Baja 1000, I want to get to this real quick,
Okay.
which is actually 1,134 miles long.
This year it was.
This year.
Yes. So,
But it's catchier to call it the Baja 1000 than the
Than the
1,134.
1134.
Yeah, it's probably a little catchier.
Yeah.
So Team Jagged Edge won that.
Yep, the Razor Team Jagged Edge. Jagged Edge makes aftermarket products, and I don't believe it's available anymore, but they did have like a Polaris Jagged Edge edition there for a few years.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So, whatever. They've moved on, and they're just doing their own thing. So, yeah, it was 1,134 miles this year, and I was looking at some of the pictures and everything. There is like the ungodly deep silt out there.
Oh, yeah.
It is really like the ultimate race, and I know everyone says that, but
And everyone looks at that and thinks, man, that would be really fun. On one level it is, but it is an unreal amount of work to keep the machine running, to just put up with the physical punishment because you have to run it at speed. You can't just tool around. You got to go. It's a race.
yeah.
Don't anybody who's ridden any kind of like real competitive off-road circuit, or if you're just a really aggressive trail rider, knows that is some serious work. So while I'm sure it is a lot of fun and there's a lot of adrenaline and there's a lot of emotion and it would be an experience I would love to have, I make no mistake that, man, these guys are like every bit as much of an athlete as a basketball player.
Yeah, I agree. So to put it into perspective, I've kind of been eyeing around looking at different machines lately. I'll probably end up making a jump to something else here.
X3.
Maybe an X3 in the next 6 months or a year or whatever it is. But a lot of these machines that we'll say are 2014, even 2012, stuff like that, they have like 1,100 miles on them. This is what people put on their machines in, over a few years. And these guys are doing it in hours or, a couple days, basically, is what they're running it in.
And in conditions that, honestly, even at their worst, probably don't hold a candle.
Oh, no. Because there's stories out there, and I know they're all true, but of locals that try to sabotage the course to try and make you crash because they want to see the carnage of it and everything else.
Yeah.
And that's dirty and that's rotten, but whatever. It is what it is at this point. It really is probably, I would say it's probably the hardest race in the world, maybe only second to the Dakar.
Yeah.
Dakar, I think, might be a little bit easier, though, simply because it's more sand, and sand is a little more forgiving.
Yeah, and you don't have to you can kind of tune your machine more to that, knowing what you're dealing with.
Right. So on the topic of the Baja 1000, if there's someone out there, and I'm not saying I want to drive even, I would be thrilled to drive or ride shotgun or whatever, but I'm a fairly decent mechanic. So if anybody for next year and you guys are wanting a mechanic, I'll come do it. Just to have the experience of a lifetime.
If you want somebody to carry, I'll carry tires. I don't care.
Yeah. So I wanted to throw that out there. I'm a big fan of the Baja, and I kind of keep up on it as it's going on and everything. But yeah, if there's a team who's looking for a mechanic, and Doug will tell you, I hold my own as a mechanic, and
It's because he breaks stuff all the time, so he has tons of experience.
yes, no, but it's I would love to do that. That would be something that would be that's one of my bucket list type things.
Absolutely, I can see that.
So before we get too far detached from
Yeah, you're fine.
I'm
just looking.
the part thing that we were talking about. Now, this is not the land anchor. I don't know if you've seen this part, and I'll bring it up to you because I have serious problems / questions about this part.
Okay.
So there's a company. I'm not going to bring them up by name. I don't think that they're bad people. I don't think they've designed it shoddily or anything else. But they call it the Jack Daddy. And what it is like this straight rod, and you put a special mount on your shock bolt. And you put this straight rod into the special mount, and we'll say like your left front tire, you have a flat or something. When you put this rod on there, and then you drive forward and you put it in an angle, so as you drive forward, it straightens it out and it lifts the left front in this scenario up off the ground. Have you seen this thing or not?
I'm looking it up right now because I'm curious.
I believe it's called the Jack Daddy is what I believe it's called. So anyway, and it lifts up the machine. And looks like a fairly new product, and some people are like, oh, I really want that. Every one of these things, every time I see a machine sitting on it, the rod is bowed looking and under extreme stress. And let alone, I was trying to explain this to someone else, and they finally got what I was saying. So you have this rod going up, and it's lifting the machine. So you have 1,000 pounds on it. So we'll stay with the flat tire scenario, and you're wanting to get the machine up to change your flat tire. So you have a flat tire, you have to apply more throttle to drive forward to get it to rise up onto this jack. And it might be the daddy jack or whatever it is, something like that. Anyway,
I was going to say, I haven't had dinner yet. I came here straight after work, and I look up Jack Daddy, and I'm not finding any links. So I'm like, I'm just going to do an image search for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's evidently a hamburger joint called Jack Daddy's, and oh my word, these things look freaking awesome. So if you want some good food porn, go look up Jack Daddy and do an image search on Google, and oh my word. Anyways.
Okay. Moving on. So you have to apply more throttle to get up onto the to move with a flat tire, and you're trying to get up on this thing. That may be not the name. I don't know. Anyway, so in doing so, as soon as you come up off that flat tire, now the flatness of said tire is no longer holding you back. So all of a sudden, the thing is going to rock up faster now onto this. And as weak as that rod looks, I can only imagine just shearing it off as you rock beyond and drive it through your A-arm. So
I'm not having any luck, but I'm going to just take your word for that and say, yeah, that sounds questionable. There's certain things you can cheap out on in life. That doesn't sound like one you would want to.
No.
I don't know enough about the details of it, having not seen it, but yeah, maybe that's something we could look at redesigning as well. There's nothing really off the table right now in terms of what we're willing to do or willing to consider, so that kind of falls in line with the land anchor. I mean, it's in the same vein of stuff you would use in those kind of extreme situations.
Yeah. Not for me. I mean, I looked at it, and I just don't think it's strong enough. I don't think it's well enough designed. I'm trying to find a picture of it here for Doug because I know about where the picture
Like I said, folks, hard to believe this isn't scripted. I know. Shocker.
We're not all planned out?
That's okay. I can just take your word for it. We'll find it at some point. I'm kind of curious, and we can always revisit this because we are going to do more of these. We still have to get to 30.
Yeah, and we'll go well beyond 30, I'm sure. So, anyway.
Sorry. I'll apologize now to everybody out there. Okay, so I'm looking down through the list. There's some stuff I'm going to skip because I want to save some material for next time. And
whatever.
I know, I'm being optimistic. There will be a next time. I'm seeing random trivia with Doug. Is that left on from last time?
No, that is a new random trivia with Doug.
Oh, boy.
So, okay.
Bring it. Let's go.
He's ready. Okay. Clear that off. All right. You ready?
I am ready.
Are you
Okay,
You can't Google them.
I'm putting the phone down.
Okay.
I'm not Googling this.
Some are easy, some are hard. Same thing. Okay.
All right.
The beaver is the national
Why are
emblem.
these all? Why are these all animal related?
I don't know.
Do you have any non? Okay, go ahead.
I like
Sorry.
animals. Leave me be.
Okay.
The beaver is the national emblem of which country?
Country?
Country.
Oof. I honestly don't know.
You got to guess. We've gone through this. No answer is wrong.
Okay, it's not Canada. It's not the United States. I'm guessing it's not Middle Eastern. I'm just gonna go crazy here.
Surely not Mexico. I mean,
Greenland.
Canada.
It is?
It is Canada.
Why am I thinking? Oh, I'm thinking the maple leaf because I see that everywhere, but that's not an
That's their
animal
flag.
exactly.
Yeah.
That would make sense. I could totally see that. I wrote them off. It shouldn't. I can see that.
I was hoping my face didn't give it away when you're like, okay, it's not Canada. I'm like, haha, inside.
Fooled again.
Sucker.
Okay.
Okay, the average human body contains how many pints of blood?
22.
9.
Really?
That's what it says.
Oh, crap. I was thinking quart. No, what's lower than a pint?
I don't know, half pint?
Half pint or something? Really? That's got to be more than 9.
Dude, I don't know. It's what the internet says. Blame the internet.
I'm blaming the internet. I want to fact check that one, but we'll
Okay,
do it later.
We'll double check. You may get that one on a technicality that the internet was wrong.
Because when you go to donate blood, they take a pint. They're not taking a ninth of your blood. You wouldn't walk out of there.
I don't know. I nearly passed out giving blood once.
Because I thought the human body had like multiple gallons. So
I don't think it's multiple gallons.
I don't know. I haven't bled enough to figure that out.
I haven't either. But the quick story on me nearly passing out. So I go in and work had this thing where, you can give blood and donate and whatnot. And I go in there and the lady's like, well, here's a little stress ball thingy to squeeze and it'll make it go faster. And so I sit down and I'm like, squeeze the stress ball as fast and as hard as you can. And let's try and get this blood going through there. I got things to do. And I filled up the whole bag in under 2 minutes. And the lady's
It's
like,
not a race, dude. That's not the point.
that's how I'm wired. So the lady runs
Lord.
over there and she's like, oh no, the bag's about to pop. Like, or kick the little hose out. She gets it stopped. Yeah, I was a little lightheaded after that.
Okay, you're right. I don't know where I got 20. I was like in my head for some reason.
24 gallons or whatever you said.
22. I don't know why I had that in my head. I don't know where that number came from, but I was like, sure. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
It says
Internet's
8 to 10, depending on, obviously mass. But
yeah. Fat people got more blood.
maybe not as much as you think, but yeah.
Okay, anyway.
Got a lot more fat.
Hg is a chemical symbol for what element?
Mercury.
Yes, very good. Also tasty on salads. No, I'm teasing. Don't do that.
If you're eating a lot of fish, you may be getting more than you bargained for, too.
Yeah. In Tennessee, it is illegal to drive if you are what?
A citizen of that state should be. Have you ever driven in Tennessee?
Yes.
Okay.
Michigan's worse.
Yeah, it is. If you are what?
Yes. It's a condition, like, if you are...
Well, I'm assuming drunk is...
Well, that's kind of universal. I mean, well,
Okay.
At least in the U.S.
But like a medical condition?
No.
Give me a hint. I need a hint. Because this is weird trivia.
It's funny, though.
It is. It's not a medical condition.
It is not. I'll just tell you, it's not a medical condition.
Okay. If you are married.
Nope. Asleep. They actually made a law. I love these.
Oh, yeah. I was really going to guess that one. Why is that on the books?
I don't know. In Papua New Guinea, what is the leading cause of death?
Donkey accidents.
That would be a good guess due to last week's trivia thing, because the donkeys being the animal that causes the most death. Falling out of trees.
Falling out of trees. Do people sleep in trees a lot there?
I don't believe they sleep there, but like they harvest things from trees.
There are a lot of bananas that come from there.
I don't know. I'm going to assume so. And coconuts and
Something like that.
Monkeys are in trees.
We don't mean to sound like ignorant Indiana rednecks, but
we honestly
we
are. Yeah. What safety device did cars built in Bennington, Vermont have in the 1920s?
This feels like one I should know. Seatbelts. That sounds about like what they would have kicked.
No, it is actually the St. Christopher medal. It's a patron saint of traveling, and the car was the Wasp.
Oh, yeah. Because like the plate glass they use in the non-collapsible steering columns, I mean...
And the chrome spikes that were welded to the dashboard
that
and
kind
whatnot.
of stuff.
Yes.
My grandpa had a 29 Model A Ford, and it did not have seatbelts in it. I mean, he put some in when he retrofitted, and kind of restored the car, but I thought maybe somebody had really gotten ahead. Do you know when airbags came in? This surprised me.
I remember it was much earlier than they became standard in most cars.
It was like late 60s or early 70s. Like it was way earlier than you'd think. You think of it being as something like in the 90s, maybe.
Yeah.
No, it was way before that.
So a complete side note and nothing to do with the trivia. I just get a text from my dad that says, "We're out to eat for your mom's birthday. They're already at the restaurant. You can come join us if you want," or something like that. I'm like, thanks for the heads up.
Whoops.
Yeah. Nothing says you're the loved and cared for child like, yeah, we're already eating. You can swing by if you're not
This
busy.
is how much we are sacrificing for all of you out there in internet land.
Thank you for saving me from going to my parents' birthday dinner thing. So anyway, moving on. In Wyoming, in June, it is illegal to take a picture of what?
Antelope.
A rabbit.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Okay.
The internet says so.
I'll believe it because there's so many odd laws in the books.
Why only in June?
My dad has a mustache. He's always had a mustache. Like pretty much, I think he might have come out of the womb with it. I'm not entirely sure, but he's always had a mustache. And like he's got a pretty big, full, bushy one. Not
Yeah, he
just
does. It's a true man's mustache.
It is a legit soup strainer.
Yeah.
And so because of that, something led my mom down some sort of rabbit hole that she should not have taken a picture of in June. It is illegal in Indianapolis. It's a city law to kiss a man with a mustache in public.
Huh. Well,
It's still on the books. I highly doubt
the same as this rabbit.
I highly doubt it's being enforced,
I
but
doubt it.
yeah. So there's a million weird laws out there, and they probably had a good reason at one point, but yeah, I never would have guessed that.
I have not been keeping score. I don't know if you have. But...
I've only got one right, I think.
Okay. I was.
You've really been digging for weird stuff here, but I'm liking this.
Yeah. So, okay, moving on. We've only got 3 more. Which sea creature has 3 hearts?
Ooh, it's probably either an octopus or a squid.
It is an octopus. I will give you that one.
Okay.
That you named it. It was this animal or this animal. So close enough. It is an octopus.
Sweet.
How many bones does an adult human have?
206.
Very good. See, I had no idea on that one. I would
And 22 pints of blood. I'm picturing what that person would look like now. They'd just be this big sack of Jell-O.
Big sack of blood is all they are. Awesome.
Wow.
Oh, see, I never would have known that at all. I don't know. 30.
I don't know why I know that. I just know that I do.
Okay. How did the sport golf get its name?
It was a Scottish word. I think it was goff, which means to strike at or something along those lines.
Incorrect.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. But it sounded good. If I told you that in a bar over a beer, you would have been like, yeah.
Sweet, I'm smarter now. And no, it actually, it was ruled, it was called gentlemen only, ladies forbidden, which you take the first letter in each word is golf.
No.
Yes.
That's a wives' tale.
No. The internet says it's true.
That's garbage.
Nope.
I'm sticking with my answer.
Well, your answer wrong.
No.
The internet's told me different.
No, that's one of those acronyms. It's like SOS stands for Save Our Souls.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. It doesn't stand for anything. It's just really distinctive in Morse code. Like you can pick it out of the noise. Oh, crap, somebody's in trouble.
Yes.
That's all it was.
Well, I'm saying golf is that. So
No, I'm taking the point on that one.
you can have half a point.
I'm going to look it up because honestly, the fact that I had that in my head said it came from somewhere.
People's heads can be full of crap. I have met people.
Yeah, we're two of them. We've got our own show, so.
Yep. And we're spouting off things like we know things.
Well, I'm going to pull the plug on this before it gets any worse. We're getting close to an hour. By the time we thank our sponsors and babble a little more, we'll be...
I'm going to cry.
No, we got to save something for next time. But we are going to PRI on Friday. This is Wednesday. We're going to publish this podcast the morning we are going to PRI.
Yes, we are.
I'm really excited about this, like legitimately so.
I am too. Like one of my biggest things, I'm like, I hope we have enough time to see everything.
Maybe you should take tomorrow off as well, and you can go ahead and scout, and then I'll join you on Friday.
I could, but I don't want. It's not going to be as fun just going by myself.
Okay, we'll make a heck of a run at it on Friday, and it's not going to be the only time we go. I mean, we've got our foot in the door now. I think next year, if we go back, they'll just be like, "Oh, we let you in, we'll let you in again."
Right.
So, and maybe we'll be able to schedule it where we can do 2 days.
Yeah, I really, in my mind, I'm thinking we're going to skip the engine builders stuff. I mean, like Holly Dominator, the Holly booth. I don't need to see their carburetors.
We're probably going to skip most of the really cool cars because we're probably going to be focusing on the off-road side of it.
I want to see Blasphemy.
We have to.
Yeah.
That's a have to.
And
although I did see, I follow them, I follow Roadkill, Mike Finnegan, David Freiberger. I follow them all on Instagram.
Yeah.
And a couple days ago, they posted a picture of Finnegan underneath Blasphemy. The front clip is off and he's wrenching on it. And I didn't check back to see if they answered. I'm like, are you still going to be at PRI? Because I'm a little nervous now.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm glad we're not going day one because they are infamous
for showing up
late because something went wrong.
Yeah.
So I think we got a better chance if he is going to be there of seeing him on Friday.
Yeah, I agree. So no, I'm really excited for PRI. I want to check out. Like I've said before, I want to get better pricing on some of our off-road components.
Yeah.
I want to figure out what I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something out there that is like one of those I never thought of that things that.
Yeah, we may find something that totally blows our mind, and we should be making something, maybe an adaptation of this thing for our customers. Or, I mean, yeah.
Right.
I'm really looking forward to kind of the expanded horizons there in that regard.
Yep. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And as we kind of wrap up the show, this goes into the wrapping up bit, and it's not on the list, but it's one of those things that I think we should maybe start to mention. We are open to sponsorships, both in the racing side of it and like if you want to sponsor just a podcast show type thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We are open to that. So if you have something now, That being
said, we are both brutally honest, so if we don't like your product, we will tell you. We're not going to bash you on the air. We're just going to say, look, this isn't for us. But we're going to be honest. We're only, we're going to support things that we think are worthwhile and we would buy ourselves. And so we're definitely open to it. But
now I will say on the racing side of it, and I've told Doug this, I don't want a sponsor just for sake of sponsorship. I want something that I believe in the product. I'm not saying it has to be an off-road product, but I just don't want, oh, well, this person said that they'd, give me $100 to put their sticker on the side of my rig. I don't want that.
No, it's going to be something we use, something we believe in.
Yeah. Like I said, even if it's not an off-road racing product, shop towels, or it doesn't even have to be that. It can be anything. But if it's something that I believe is a good product.
Yeah, if they're really nice work boots, I don't care.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because we don't use those racing. I actually make sure I always drive in shoes and tennis shoes of some variety.
No, but I mean, if it's just a solid product, I completely agree. So we are open to that. If anybody is interested in our massive 10, I'm going to say 10-person reach now based on the new numbers.
Oh, I bet it's more than that.
11?
Maybe.
22? I like that number tonight.
Yeah. So, I wanted to throw that out there. And as always, we want you guys to leave us comments and suggestions and questions and whatever you got. I'm always kind of looking at off-road stuff. I mean, so I'm always eyeing things and all that. But it's like the land anchor thing. There's some things you guys know about or see that I just never crossed my mind, never even thought about, because it really normally doesn't pertain to us.
Exactly. So. And speaking of land anchors, we're going to land this anchor of a show. I want to say thank you to all of you out there that are listening. The uptick in traffic was extremely, extremely gratifying to see. So it means we're doing something right out there and that you are enjoying it. You can find us on the web at eminentperformance.com. You can find us on Facebook /Eminent Racing. You can find us on Instagram at Eminent Racing as well. We have a Twitter account that I've started just so we had the name, but we don't ever use it, so don't look for us there. You'll be bitterly disappointed until I start doing more of that, or any of it. Also want to shout out and say thank you to our sponsors again that we already do have. Watch Communications, thank you so much for hosting our website, for hosting this podcast. You have made a lot of what we're doing possible. We thank you so much for it. If you need internet access and you are in the Indiana, Ohio, Illinois sphere, and you're kind of out in the boonies, definitely look up Watch Communications. They can probably hook you up if you're in one of their service areas. And maybe there is no better option for you that you're aware of, or maybe you just hate Comcast because they've burned you one too many times. Go give them a look.
Also, with Watch Communications, you can mention our name and they won't know who you're talking about, probably. But
no, they
and you
will.
get 0% off.
No, they will actually. Yeah, you can mention us. They're not going to get you anything, but they'll just say, "Oh, those idiots."
Yeah, it would be nice that they knew that they were getting some return on their investment of letting us, host
freeload
there. So
yes,
yeah.
Also want to say thank you to utv-doors.com, TGM Off-Road, and of course Colby Valve Stems. All you guys have been great this season, and we hope that, again, that we are doing well by you in terms of getting your name out there, because, again, these are products we believe in, and they are ones we actually do use. So we're going to be back. We're going to try and do some Facebook Live stuff from PRI if it's permitted. We're definitely going to have a lot to talk about, so we're doing another podcast next week. We'll be back and better than ever with episode 12. I'm actually glad the PRI show is not going to be number 13.
Yeah.
Not that I'm superstitious, but
yeah,
that could be terrible.
Yeah.
We'll save number 13 for Christmas.
No. Well, no, it'll be before Christmas, won't it?
It'll be just before Christmas.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for riding along this time. We will see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
I'm tired of going down, I'm tired of myself, I'm tired of this town.
D